episode 180. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? It's been a while since we had a Sunday recording, but it makes it kind of feel like E3 time. Recording the weekend.
Yeah, so we are recording on a Sunday. We're going to cover this one. Episode 180 is primarily in Singularity, only the Xbox Game Showcase from today on June 11th. So we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts typically on Thursdays. But obviously during Summer Games Fest, it'll be a little different. But on average, we post on Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. If this is your first time listening to us, you found us through searching through Xbox or whatever, please consider subscribing and leaving a review or just joining in the community and conversating with us. So Discord, Facebook, Twitter is all linked in the show notes. We have PayPal if you want to support us that way. We have a DDG merchandise store. But other than that, like I said, almost all the pertinent information you need is in the show notes. And we are live on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, where you can watch us and comment and join in the community that way as well. And you can link your Amazon account to your Twitch account if you have Amazon Prime, and you get Prime Gaming. And you can subscribe to us for free, or you can just earn through bits, or just by watching on Twitch, you can drop us a subscription because we are an affiliated streamer. So please consider doing that. And with that, I'm going to throw it over to Michael.
Yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. We got about how much time with Xbox? 90 minutes today of a stream. It's like 1 hour for the main showcase, and then like 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I feel like it was like an hour 5, hour 10 of games, and then Starfield.
Yeah, so we'll just go through all the announcements. I think at the end of it, like it's over 20 things were like there was a trailer or an announcement for. So we're just going to go through those one by one, stop when we talk about something that interests us, and then we'll dive into the Starfield stuff, which actually may have sold me back on this game. But we'll start off with the beginning of the showcase, where we had the first official real trailer for Fable. And this looked pretty damn good, Dave, like for a trailer. Xbox did promise that there would be like labeling for when there's like gameplay versus non-gameplay. I didn't really see any labeling, but most of the first
at the
party
bottom
stuff,
it would say in-game footage or in-engine footage. Yeah.
It just wouldn't stick sometimes. There were some trailers where that would disappear relatively quick. But this one was a mix of like some cutscene and some actual gameplay mixed in there. Dave, I know you're not the biggest Fable person. You dabbled with the Fables when they first came out,
briefly,
right?
And I've messed with some. I've messed with some of them with Game Pass or on PC over the last year or so, but nothing crazy. I'm not really sure. I don't know enough Fable lore, so I can't forgive my ignorance. But I'm not really sure exactly what's going on. Other than at first when I thought, I was like, is this a Jolly Green Giant or a James and the Giant Peach? Like basically
at this point, it's a fantastical world, so we're dealing with all sorts of things.
But yeah, it looked if any of that was gameplay, which there was some gameplay we saw, it looked good and it looked super interesting to me. My first question is, are you continuously always in this giant world? So is this did they get some inspiration and some help from Grounded?
Help from Grounded, or they saw the section in God of War and was like, that's a pretty good section when you do Battle of the Giants in that. Yeah.
So it looked interesting. I think they said 2024, right? Or they didn't say anything.
No, they didn't say anything. They were smart. Again, this is like, I think Xbox learning from past mistakes of just like, we're not going to put a date on it. There was a couple trailers that they didn't even consider putting a date on. But yeah, no, this looks really good. I'm happy with it. Like there's Richard Iota, I think is his name. He was like the giant in it. So they seem like they got the humor right. Cause again, this is a completely different studio working on this. It's not the original studio, cause that studio closed like 10 years ago. So it's in new hands, and it looks like it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Hopefully we see more eventually. It'll probably be... Do you think, Dave, that Fable could be considered one of their staples? Like, is something they can prop up, or do you think it's just...
I don't know,
limited?
Because it feels like it's in this bucket that of their first party right now, in my opinion, that is still, like, the jury's still out on. Like, from what we saw at this time last year compared to what we saw today, they look vastly different to me. and we've heard that there's been some. We've heard there was a possible reboot or some struggling going on with this game. So at this point in time, I don't know. I feel like they're just using the name as a crutch at this moment. And is this really going to be like, it's something like you say all the time, is this really going to be a Fable game, or is this going to be just a game called Fable?
Yeah, the jury's still out on if that's going to actually be a thing. But this isn't the first impression of the game. This is the second time we've seen like a trailer, but this feels like the first of actual reveal, and it was a good step forward. The next thing we got was another Xbox studio, Compulsion Games. Their next project, South of Midnight. No gameplay was really shown in this one, as far as I know, or I could tell, but it does have a very distinct art style. What would you call it? It almost felt like a little bit of like claymation mixed with some of that like Spider-Verse TMNT art style.
Yeah. It looked really cool. Like,
yeah, it completely caught my interest just from a visual standpoint.
Yeah. This visually this looks great. Like the little bit of if that was a cutscene or a cinematic, like there's always then that problem with voice acting seeming a little bit disconnected, and I didn't get any of that feeling from it. It left me more curious than anything, and this looks very cool. It's a third person. It appears that it's a third person game, which is great. Xbox, the reverse of it from the Sony standpoint of Xbox seems to do a lot more stuff in first person. And this seems to be like a third person, somewhat action adventure game. So like I think this looks really cool.
Yeah, this looked really good. The only thing that I would say is making me hesitant to like full in buy in on this game is it is from Compulsion Games, and I feel like they've always had very distinct art styles, but they fall in the gameplay standpoint. They had Contrast, which was like a launch PS4 game, very distinct art style, but didn't do anything really gameplay wise that impressed me. And then of course We Happy Few is one of those ones where what people wanted from that art style wasn't exactly what they got.
And this is where you hope in the long run, and until you had started connecting those two things together, in connecting Compulsion with the games, I wasn't making that connection. But this is where you hope that being under the Xbox umbrella helps them, of where somebody like any studio can come to them and be like, okay, like what challenges are you facing? Well, we want the character to do this, but we don't know how to do this. Did you try it this way? Did you run the engine like this? Those kind of things. And that's where I hope that we start hearing a lot more about this collaborations of these studios like helping each other, and I think that would be a huge deal.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later, but like I think Starfield looks significantly better in this showing, and we've been told that Xbox is very much hands-on with this project compared to other Bethesda projects, and I feel like it shows. But South of Midnight, I'm excited that it's going to explore like Southern folklore, which I feel like is something that we don't really get much in video games too often, or ever. Honestly.
I got a slight like 2 to 3% like kind of a Last of Us vibe to it when he was playing the guitar and stuff.
I think it was just the music. It was definitely, I didn't know what we were dealing with at first, of what type of game it was, and then when you actually get a look at the actual art style, it's just like, oh, okay, my expectations are all over the place right now in terms of what I expect from
this direction of stuff coming out of out of your players, our heroes, or our main characters' hands versus weapons. I think is really cool at this point in time. Whether it's Immortals or we've seen it in some other games lately over the last 6 to 8 months, a lot of reveals like this magic building with their hands or spell casting. I think is really cool. Yeah,
it's definitely a lot of games doing that right now. All right, the next bit. Sorry, I'm going between tabs. This one probably makes Dave just be like, "What are they doing over there?" But in like a confusing but good way.
Yeah.
So massive Star Wars game was revealed, and it's called Star Wars Outlaws. This is being pitched as something coming in 2024, and it is the first open world Star Wars game. So massive doing what we know them for and doing an open world game. Dave, you're a Star Wars fan. You're a massive fan. Take it away.
This looks really cool. It appears to be telling I don't actually, to be honest with you, like I don't know. I know I'm a Star Wars fan on the surface of watching the movies and some of the television shows. I'm not like into the books or at all. So like I have no idea what's going on with this, other than Okay, go ahead.
On the Xbox website, they talk about that. I'm trying to pull it up. So this takes place between The Empire Strikes Back and A Return of the Jedi, if that helps you.
Okay.
Before you continue.
Yeah, it looks really cool, and I'm super interested to see. Massive is a very good to great third-person cover shooter, like they've done The Division. I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't really know what they've done before that, because they've been doing The Division for probably 12 years. So
it's crazy to say, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like damn near, if you can conclude pre-development.
Yeah, so we didn't see very much gameplay to this, but I would be shocked if this doesn't have some cover based functionality to it. Just a cinematic trailer, or like moving around in the like the alleys of the cities and stuff like that we've seen explored more in like Mandalorian universe, and just in general in Star Wars and in some of these shows that they've been showing on Disney Plus. I think going deeper and deeper into these lores and introducing more characters and stuff like that is just interesting and awesome. I saw some crap on social media. I'm not bothered at all that there's a female lead in a Star Wars game. It does not bother me one bit.
Yeah, I saw some people were upset because there was like 3 games in a row how they started the show, and it's just like, dude, calm down, people.
I'm just super impressed now. Is like we talked about this years ago, of where these lines of what type of game it is or what genre game it is are continuing to blur, and as we're obviously seeing as people our age, Michael and I's age, somewhat are coming into high-end creative director or head of studios, and somebody presents something to them, they don't feel pigeonholed to be like, it's got to be a white 6'2" male.
Yeah,
like they don't feel that.
A lot of things have changed since like the BioShock Infinite days, where there was controversy on if Elizabeth could be on the box, and we saw that with Last of Us with Ellie on the box. So yeah, no, we've come a long way, but you're still gonna have those people on social media, because it was definitely one of those things where I noticed, but I didn't care because the games look cool, and then like I checked on Twitter, which never do that, and I saw people complaining, and it was just like, stop being weird.
Yeah, but I mean, it's cool and exciting, but it leaves me scratching my head. This is 3 shows in a row that Ubisoft has shown up in, whether it's Assassin's Creed Mirage, Prince of Persia,
each time,
and Star Wars. Yes, different game each time, but they have their own showcase tomorrow. Now, what I liked at the end of this event, or the end of this reveal, is they said, hey, come back tomorrow and see somebody play.
Yeah. And
so, like, that's great. So I hope that in terms of what Ubisoft has been doing over the last 3 weeks, that I guess my feeling now has changed today, is that hopefully all 3 of these games are shown playing at the Ubisoft Forward.
And I think they said so far that everything is going to be shown. I'm not too sure about Prince of Persia, but I think they said like tune in to our forward after the fact, not during the showcase. Yeah, it's one of those things where Ubisoft is definitely like, hey, we need to have a big year this year, and we're going to get more viewers by putting our stuff in the PlayStation Showcase, Summer Games Fest, Xbox Showcase, and hopefully those people will come over to our showcase and actually show up. Like you got way more eyes just by being on the PlayStation Showcase for Assassin's Creed. I do wonder if there's like some sort of marketing deal that happens in this, to where I'm sure PlayStation would have preferred to have Star Wars Outlaws over Assassin's Creed, and vice versa, and Jeff Keighley probably would have wanted any of those
over Prince of Persia.
Over Prince of Persia, even though Prince of Persia looked great. This must just be like Ubisoft being like, hey, we need people to pay attention to our forward, and we can't drop surprises in our forward if not many people are going to show up. And
yeah, I think they realize their forward's on a Monday at noon, and whether that's the time that they were able to pick or not going to be able to pick. But are you concerned at all now? Not that I want to get into this, but based on Assassin's Creed Mirage is big, Prince of Persia is B level. This Star Wars Outlaw should be big, is hoping to be big. Are these buffers to not see Avatar?
It depends. I don't see Avatar being something that would be in development hell.
Same studio.
So, same studio, but like if they're already showing this and they're going to be showing gameplay, I feel like that means Avatar will get a release date this week, and it's going to be relatively soon. So they're just like
it has. I feel like it has to come out this fall, but it needs to stay out of September and October.
Yeah, I was looking at the calendar for September, October, and we don't even have a Call of Duty announced
yet.
So it's going to be pretty packed. But Avatar is also one of those weird anomaly franchises that, like people were talking about before the second movie came out. Me included, was like, this movie had no cultural impact, and then a second movie comes out and makes like $2 billion. So there's a fan base for it, so Avatar could probably release whenever it wants and do fine.
Consumers are weird. Like, consumers are just very, very weird, especially like you make that reference to the movie market. Like, we were looking, and it doesn't look like Fast X did that great, considering it's a Fast and the Furious movie that their history shows it does really well. Spider-Verse, the new Spider-Verse has already beaten whatever the first Spider-Verse did in the first week or 10 days, and then, like, to your point, Avatar takes like a 15-year break and breaks records. So it's so hard.
Yeah, it's always hard to figure that stuff out. But we'll move on to the next one, because we're going to be talking about Outlaws probably when we record the next episode in a couple days, so we probably don't have to spend too much time on it. 33 Immortals was the next game announced from the developers of Spiritfarer. This is a 33-player co-op game. It looks like top-down action roguelike that's coming in 2024 via early access. I don't know how they're going to do this, but it looks fascinating, and I kind of want to see them pull this off.
Yeah, this is kind of another one of those games that's up my alley. It's that top-down, similar to that what we saw at Summer Game Fest, that time-bending or time manipulation game. This one, 33 players. I mean, it means it has to have some kind of matchmaking or built-in system. Yeah. But I did see situations where there was 3 or 4 players, so immediately I have scaling questions in terms of how the game scales based on how many people are there, or if it's something that certain levels you can do on your own, and then other levels, or you can have closed matchmaking, or certain levels you just don't have a choice. A game like this that does want 33 players possibly playing it is a phenomenal idea to put on Game Pass.
Oh yeah, if you want this to take off and actually support 33 players, you need to be on Game Pass, you need to be on PlayStation Plus, you need something. So this was a good showing. I'm interested. I do love their previous game, Spiritfarer, but Spiritfarer is a single player, like, emotional story game, so I want to see how well it translates to how the studio translates to like a multiplayer game. And also, when you're doing something this big, you wonder if the multiplayer experience is actually worthwhile, or they're just going for scale. And I guess we will find out next year in early access.
But it also tells me it's going to be some kind of games as a service too, I think, if it's in early access. Possibly.
Yeah, possibly not full games as a service, but definitely like they need
continuous
a roadmap.
Content. Yeah.
But I don't see them supporting it long term. I don't think that sort of game could survive too long, like in terms of like frequent updates to get people to come back and forth. Mm-hmm. But I could be wrong. The next one was a very violent Payday 3 trailer. This is coming out September 21st. Yeah, it's more Payday. I don't mean that as like an insult or to write it off, but like it is more Payday. So yeah, Dave, any Payday thing? I feel like this is something we both kind of considered getting into, but we never fully.
Yeah, I haven't played any of them, the first one or the second one, really. I might have messed with them a little bit if they were on Plus when I was playing a bunch of shooters. It does look really good. I guess I'm curious, and maybe you can answer this question because you tend to know a little bit more about this. Like, are you able to play like as the cops or the robbers, or are you only the robbers?
This one looks like you're definitely able to play as the cops. You did get the camera view from behind the cops pretty frequently, but I could be wrong on how they're doing this.
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah, it does. Yeah. And if it's a heist game or a game that you could, that's fun with friends and you could play and set up things and try to make sure you accomplish stuff. I'm just always curious about, does a game that maybe doesn't give, I guess I don't know enough about Payday stuff, doesn't give loot or doesn't give XP, or like I'm sure there's a gun leveling system in it.
There is, yeah.
So Josh Kreese is saying robbers only in the past, but I got the
This
feeling, or I thought I saw some angles of where you were going against the robbers. So I'd be really curious. However, I do not want. I want it to be like me versus AI, not me playing cops versus other players.
Well,
like, if that's an option,
you were always playing against AI cops.
Yeah, but either way, I if I'm doing a heist, I don't want to be going against player controlled cops. If I'm cops, I don't want to be going against player controlled robbers, unless I choose to go into that lobby.
You'll be able to, like, if they are doing like player controlled both sides, there'll be lobbies for that. You should be able to play single player, like you have been in the past.
Yeah, because you just get people doing some weird shit when you do that, and it gets annoying fast.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely get frustrating. The next one is Persona 3 Reload, which we talked about in the last episode because this was leaked, though a little bit more information has come out on it. For those that were looking forward to this isn't going to include any of the portable or Fez content. Dave right now is like, I don't know what that is. But basically, Persona 3 has already been remade. It came out to PSP, and there was like a Game of the Year type edition that added extra content sort of thing. And they're not including any of that content in this remake, which immediately gets me from like excited about them doing this to I'm not into it anymore, because like it's not the complete experience. What's the point? Unless they plan to release that as DLC, which at that point I would feel kind of dirty, supporting that. But it looks good. It is kind of curious, they just released Persona 3, 4, and 5 on Xbox, and then here they're remastering 3, after they just like ported it. So this is coming, it's going to be Game Pass day 1, so at least if you're on Xbox, you probably feel less, cheated by playing this on Xbox, because like you're not having to pay for it, as opposed to if you're putting the full dollar amount for this game and it doesn't include all the content you would want, you'd probably not be too into it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Persona 3 Reload coming in 2024. A lot of 2024 stuff, not as many dates as I would have liked for certain things. But I think that's Xbox just trying to prevent any issues to come up like they have in the past. The next one we got is Obsidian. We got Avowed, like the first official real trailer, not just like a concept teaser. And the big news coming out of this is this takes place in the Pillars of Eternity world, which is Obsidian's other games are like top-down RPGs. But this one is a first-person RPG, very reminiscent of like the Elder Scrolls games and fantasy games like that. Dave, what did you think of Avowed now that we got like an actual look at some gameplay and the world?
I thought it looked really cool. They're like, everything that I've heard about Obsidian is that they are RPG kings. That's their claim to fame. However, social media seemed to just focus on shitting on the way the game looked. In terms of like what they were shown like 2 years ago or a year ago, like in the teaser, and they were even like nitpicking the title screen and the way that the words and the letters are shaped in terms of like the development direction. And most of you know this by me. I don't give a damn what a game looks like as long as it's fun, like and it runs. So everybody like that says, I'm like, hey, like tell me about Outer Worlds. Oh, it's a great game. You can do this, this, and this. Well, tell me about the game. Oh, I don't really know much about the game. I just know I can do this, this, and this, and it's cool and it's fun. And like that's all I really heard about Outer Worlds. I don't know if anybody could really like give me an elevator pitch of the story accurately, because they just have more fun in the sandbox screwing around with the abilities. Yes, they progress through the story because the story gets like essentially and gets in their way. And if they can achieve Pillars of Eternity style first person RPG that is fun to play, like kudos.
Yeah. It's funny, I had the opposite reaction of what some of the stuff of people breaking down the video. I thought this looked significantly better than what they showed in the past, because what they showed in the past was this kind of, it was dark, gloomy, and generic looking. It almost looked like they were just like, hey, we're going to make a Skyrim, we're going to make an Elder Scrolls. And this one was way more colorful and a little bit more personality than was shown in like the 30-second teaser that we saw like 3 years ago. So I think this looks significantly better than what they've shown in the past. And also, now that Xbox owns Bethesda, they have to go to Obsidian of like, hey, you got to differentiate yourself a little bit more than Elder Scrolls, when most likely when the game was first in development or in concept, Xbox probably went to Obsidian of like, yo, can you make us an Elder Scrolls? So things have changed significantly enough.
That's what Josh is saying, and that in our Twitch chat, they released an article on the PC World explaining that they changed their vision for the game. It was initially going to be a Skyrim-like game, but now a more narrow story-driven. Great.
Yeah, which is perfect. That's exactly what they need, because you don't want to fall into the problem that like, it's not really a problem for PlayStation because it's successful, but you don't want a stepchild of Skyrim. You don't want a stepchild of Skyrim, and then also you don't want to like, PlayStation already has a thing of like, all of our games are open world third person shooters, you know, and Xbox at this point is like, hey, we don't want to just be known as like the open world fantasy RPG company.
But I'm more apt to give this a shot if it's a more narrow story driven game, because like I sometimes feel overwhelmed with just mechanics and UI screens. Like, yes, I understand that I play Destiny, I play Division, but there's only so much that my old brain can hold in terms of how build crafting works and how you focus on things. Same problem I'm having with Zelda right now. Like, I don't want to constantly have to build something every single time I need to get from point A to point B. I just kind of want the game to guide me.
Yeah, no, and this is a good way to differentiate itself, especially like this is the company that's going to be putting Elder Scrolls 6 out in a couple years, and Fables is in the same kind of space as all of this, so they have to differentiate each other somehow, some way, and this is a great way in doing that. It's crazy how much just you throw a little bit of color in the world and it like makes it look completely different. And that's basically what this trailer is. It's like, hey, things glow in the dark a little bit more than they did previously. And that's enough to make it feel different. So after this, we got Rare showing off Sea of Thieves getting a Monkey Island expansion that's coming June 20th. No Everwild or any other stuff from Rare, so it's just the Monkey Island thing. This is going to be broken into, I think, like 3 chapters that will release over time. But I believe it is free content that is coming to Sea of Thieves.
Looks cool.
Yeah. It made me, like, every time that I see Sea of Thieves stuff, I'm always like, I kind of want to jump into it, but just haven't pulled that trigger yet. Then we got some Microsoft Flight Simulator. Dave, unless you have something, we're just going to skip right over this. Looks cool.
I think it's Flight Simulator Objective. And that's fine. Like, that's part of the reason I never really played it before, because I'm like, I don't really want to play Google Maps in a plane. And this stuff kind of looks cool. It might be something kind of worth checking out. I'm curious to how it functions and work, but it might be kind of fun to pick up a container and put it in your ship or put it in your plane and take it across the world. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've played Flight Simulator. It's fun, but I have had the thing too where it's like maybe an objective thing will help me, as opposed to being like, all right, I'm going to fly from Chicago to LA. It's going to be 4 hours of me turning knobs and stuff.
I saw my house. I saw where the Colorado Rockies play, and I saw where the Rams play. Okay, I'm cool.
This at least is like, hey, can you like pick up something?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that like gets implemented into the game. Just because if you've played it before, you can't really interact with anything that's actually on the ground typically. So I'm just, outside of just taking off, you're not really able to land anywhere you want, because not everything.
And they keep calling it a new sequel, so I feel like this is going to be a second game. Like it's like a whole new sequel scheduled for next fall. So
it seems like they're doing what they used to do back in the day, and they need to just add a year to it. But we'll have to see how that goes. But it'll come to Game Pass, so for those don't have to worry about buying a new thing. Dave, we got a Hellblade 2 teaser trailer. It was actual in-game footage, so / gameplay, and it is coming in 2024. This looks great, Dave, but I'm still concerned that it's taking so long.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everything they showed is great, but I know you've been talking for a while. Like, are they getting out of the scope of what made Hellblade 1 so good? And they're just kind of going too far. But it looks really cool. visually and the voices. It made me want to consider checking out Hellblade 1, which I know you loved and adored. I just don't know if it's gonna fits the style of what I'm currently looking for. It doesn't feel like that's a summer game that I would want to play at this moment. So.
Yeah, unless you want like some anxiety or something, because that first game is pretty rough in terms of like messing with you. But it's only like a 6 to 8 hour game too, so it's not anything crazy time commitment. But this is the concern that I had with Plague Tale, which ended up working out really well. But like having a very small specific skill set or story and gameplay, and then trying to expand it, and like there's a fine line from like expanding too much and like losing what made the game special. But a Plague Tale pulled it off, so hopefully Hellblade can pull it off as well, because it definitely seems like they are going for a larger scale game. But who knows, they could announce like, hey, this is still going to be a 6 to 8 hour game.
At this point, it can't.
No, that's what I was going to get to. Like at a certain point, if they do say it's another 6 hour game, I'm going to be like, then why did it take so long?
Right.
But it is definitely pushing like a higher visual fidelity. So we'll see. Like even if
I'm with you at this point in time. I just think they're out kicking their coverage. Like they're just kicking, like somebody wants a 40-yard punt and they're giving them a 100-yard punt. Like
kinda, yeah. And that's my concern with this, but still look great. I'm excited for it. I was always going to be a day one buy or day one Game Pass on this. So I'm still on board. The next thing we got a funny trailer for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. This is coming in 2024. And this is going to star Ichiban and Kiru, though we only saw Ichiban walking around naked. So funny trailer. Like I was really excited to see Ichiban, just because we just got the other Yakuza trailer in the Summer Game Fest that didn't feature him for a different game, and now we're gonna get this game, Infinite Wealth.
So now that since this, I guess I explained to me, like since this is not a Yakuza game.
They are, yes, they are.
So it's the same studios?
Yes.
Okay, never mind then. My question is
they're just releasing 2
It just
Yakuza
feels like
games.
they're just kind of going off on a more fun path, in my opinion.
So here's what we saw in that trailer is how every Yakuza game's been. Okay. In terms of, there's always been like a weird contrast with Yakuza to where the main story is relatively serious, but everything around the main story, all the side quests, have always been like wacky, fun, and weird. Okay. And this is more kind of leaning into of like, hey, we know what you love about Yakuza games or Like a Dragon games, and we're just going to now advertise that aspect. Because it's definitely always been kind of a weird pitch for the Yakuza games to just be like, hey, here's a trailer for a super serious game. And then when you get it, or you talk to people that have played it, they only mention like the fun bits and the humor. So it looks like they're kind of just leaning towards that a little bit more in their marketing.
Yeah, this one said early 2024, so it's
early 2024, and then the Like a Dragon Gaiden is coming out this year. So a lot of Like a Dragon stuff coming. Dave, we got a Fallout 76 trailer. We can move on. Atlantic City is coming relatively soon. Path of the Goddess was something coming out from Capcom, and this looked pretty cool, Dave.
Visually, it looked great. I have no idea what the kind of game it is, but it looked amazing and bright, and
it almost looked like Flower, but with like swords, because it seemed like you were using swords and powers to like unlock people from some sort of spell or something trapping them. Well, apparently
Capcom has their own showcase too.
Yes, they do tomorrow. So this looked great. Visually very, very interesting. I'm kind of excited when we get like new IPs, especially from Capcom. Because if you told me there was a studio that had no reason to make new IPs, I would probably say Capcom, because they've been so good at remaking stuff and just reiterating on franchises. But this looks pretty damn cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing it in the showcase.
I'd like a little bit, like it left me enough info, or it left with me with enough questions that I would want to check out whatever else they talk about. So
yes, for sure. And I guess we won't have to wait too long because the Capcom showcase is tomorrow. Forza Motorsport got a release date of October 10th. And then they are going to be showcasing the single player stuff on June 13th, so on like Tuesday. Yeah. So we'll see more of Forza. I was kind of worried, Dave, that it wasn't going to release this year because this is like one of my last games in our Fantasy Critic that I need because you got Zelda.
That Corvettes, man, making all the difference, and it's just Corvettes and Cadillacs, bro.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that solidifies my position. But yeah, I was worried that this was going to slip. For some reason, I just had a vibe that like if anything was going to slip from Xbox, I could see Forza for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's solid, and that's a really cool looking game that I have no tangible desire to play because I'm not a big racing game. So
yeah, I'm not.
But I'm also
Horizon.
Not opposed to it. If like I got 3 friends that say, "Hey, we're having a great time doing races," like we just screw around and and I would download it and play it with them like 100%. So
yeah. After that, we got a trailer for the new expansion for Elder Scrolls, and then we also got a trailer for the new seasonal content for Overwatch 2. We'll just bundle those in together. Not much to say there.
Was there PvE content in this Overwatch 2 trailer?
The event PvE stuff was in there, but not the stuff that was canceled.
Okay.
And that's what's very confusing. They canceled the hero stories PvE stuff.
But they said that they're story missions.
Yeah, and those are done through events where they just basically drop like a wave map that people go on.
Okay.
So yeah. It's confusing. Overwatch community's still pissed.
New characters? Is that cool at all? Or new character pack?
They revealed 1 new character in that
I thought
trailer.
they showed like 6 at the end. Or am I that?
Those are all in the game already. So if you have Game Pass, you can unlock them outside of the Battle Pass. Okay. If you have Game Pass.
Okay.
Which I'm curious to see as someone who only plays on PlayStation but has Overwatch on that account.
Your Acti Blizzard account should be cross.
Yep. So I'll just unlock those.
You should be able to like log on to Xbox and click claim and then go back and play on PlayStation. Hopefully.
That's what I'm going to do. Most likely. It should work. The next one, we got the other thing that Atlas leaked, Persona 5 Tactica. This is just a chibi tactical Persona 5 game coming November 17th to everything and then also Game Pass. They are milking Persona 5. There's so many Persona 5 spin-offs, but it sells.
Yeah. It sells or it gets downloaded. So
yeah. The next thing we got was from Don't Nod, and it's Jasant, I want to say. This is the creators of Life is Strange. This is like a exploration game that involves a lot of climbing.
The trailer actually called it a climbing simulator.
Oh, it did. Okay.
or like or a climbing, like it focused on the word climbing. It might not have been a simulator, but a climbing focused or climbing genre game. So it looks cool. I know a lot of people love this studio, yourself included. Like I think you might just check this out just because of the studio, right?
Yeah, I'll check it out for the studio just because it does look different than everything they've done in the last, 10 years. The only thing that kind of, it just uses the traditional climbing that we've seen in games to where it's like, here's your set path. There does look like there's some powers to go off of that, but I wonder how linear it is. And that would be my only concern for it. But it did look cool, so.
It's supposed to be coming out this fall, so.
Yeah. I will check this out, of course, and then again, it's coming to Game Pass, so it's like, I'll check it out, regardless, or at least I'll get a download from me. The next one we got was from the Chinese Room. It is Still Wakes the Deep. Chinese Room, they did Everyone's Gone to Rapture, Amnesia, and another game that's like a exploring walking simulator type game.
This is a first person horror game, so I'm out.
Yeah, this is definitely from a studio that can do that, especially the Amnesia Machine for Pigs. So it had a cool concept. I will check it out.
concept seems kind of cool. Stuck on an oil rig. That just seems like a whole bunch of places to jump scare me. So I'm straight. I'm good.
Yeah. Nowhere to run in this one.
I'm good.
But it looked pretty cool. Definitely early 2024. I'll check it out. Then we got Dungeons of Hinterberg, which Dave, I think I might have missed this one mentally. I don't remember this one.
It's like a third person. It looks like it's kind of some sort of a dungeon crawler. It's got some puzzle aspect of it. You know, it looks really cool. It looks very colorful. It gives me like a brief little, like slight little Zelda vibe to it, but I'm all for some kind of, you know, dungeon crawler. It's a new action role-playing game from Microbird. Studios, it's the debut game, and it's coming in 2024. It looks cool. So
yeah, this one, I don't know why it didn't stick with me. I might have just like walked away.
I think it's only like a minute trailer. That's why.
Okay, so, that would make sense.
Yeah. So
I might have been Googling Chinese Room because that studio name popped into my head when the last trailer was shown, and I was like, what games did they make?
Then it shows some interesting powers and stuff, but I mean, it looks fun. So
yeah. We got Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, expansion trailer, which is coming September 26th. We got Keanu Reeves to intro it, and we got to see Idris Elba in action very briefly. Dave, I know neither one of us put a lot of time into Cyberpunk. I put probably my usual 6 to 10 hours in on games, and the story seems fucking crazy. You're like trying to rescue the president's daughter or the president. I forget what it is, but yeah, Cyberpunk.
Yeah, $30 expansion. You can buy I think I saw some stuff on Twitter today. You can buy the whole package for $55 right now if you don't own Cyberpunk. So, it's on their map, and kudos to CD Projekt Red for getting it out. That's really all I got.
Yeah, that's about it. My internet skipped for a second, or Discord did, so I was just like, pause.
Yeah, I mean, great job. I mean, they said they're going to stand, they toed their line with what their goals and ambitions are for Cyberpunk, and aside so far, other than the multiplayer aspect of it, they're hitting it. So,
yep. So the next one was City Skylines 2. Which is, for those that don't know, it's a simulator game. It's
SimCity on steroids.
SimCity, yeah. This is coming October 24th. These always look good. I used to love SimCity back in the day. I know it's not the one to play, but I loved the one on PS1 a lot, even though it's the worst version of that game to play. And I still sometimes will play it on my PSP and Vita, the PS1 version. This looked good. Maybe what scares me about these, they're way more in depth than the ones that I grew up with, and that causes fear. But Dave, any interest?
It looks cool. And as always, it's like beating a dead horse at this point in time, but it's on Game Pass, so why not? If I don't like it, then I don't play it. But I could definitely see myself messing with it or dabbling with it. Yeah, and City Skylines worked well enough on controller from what I remember with the first one, so it should be fine. The next one we got was the name cracked me up, Metaphor. This is from Atlas. So Atlas was really big into this. This is from the creators of Persona. It looked like a hardcore mashup of Persona and the Shin Megami Tensei games, so much so that it almost looked too busy on the screen. Because you got the Persona menus mixed in with that Shin Megami Tensei art style. I don't know what the fuck is going on in this trailer. It was interesting, but it definitely was very noisy visually. So it was kind of hard to tell what was going on. Dave, I don't know if Atlas signed some massive deal with Xbox?
It feels like it. They at least signed a Game Pass deal.
Yeah.
Because all their stuff.
I feel like Atlas has enough stuff to do their own showcase, and Microsoft's like, no, we got it.
It might be like Sega might just be into saving money, and they're just like, hey, you need content, here you go. But Dave, were you able to decipher anything from this? The trailer was pretty busy. No,
and to be honest with you, when Atlas shows up on the screen, I kind of check out. So
yeah, it's like me with anytime I see some Ubisoft stuff, I'm just like, oh, Far Cry, let me just look away. So yeah,
but
totally understand that.
That's what helps you and I. The stuff that I check out on, you're intrigued by. The stuff that you check out by, I'm intrigued by. So
yeah, so it works out. The next thing we got is a game from the Banner Saga studio called Towerborn. This one looked like a cool concept. It's like the world is like super dangerous, and it seems like a society just kind of took up in a big windmill and explore the outer worlds when they need supplies. Turns into like a side scroller thing. It almost looked like it was almost
it's a side scroller beat 'em up.
Yes, yeah.
It's a side scroller beat 'em up that has co-op. So it's another, like, this is, if you liked playing Turtles and you want to play something else that has like a cool story or whatever to it, like,
a lot more in depth potentially, because it's like you're reclaiming the land. So it almost looked like when they like zoomed in, it like showed like zooming in on certain parts of the map, so it almost feels like you're trying to regain territory. But that looked pretty cool, and the Banner Saga people have been doing Banner Saga stuff for quite a long time, so it's nice to see them move on and do something else. The last announcement reveal before we get into the Starfield talk was probably my favorite thing, Dave. Clockwork Revolution. So this is from In Exile, and this is like a steampunk first-person action game that very much looks like it was inspired by BioShock. I almost thought I was looking at a BioShock game until they started to reveal, like, who's working on it, sort of thing. But this one looks cool. There's a lot of stuff going on with time travel to where the decisions you make change the world and you can go back and fix things. But this looked pretty damn good, Dave.
It did. It looked really cool. Aesthetically, I guess like the best way that I would describe it is like the steampunk kind of. I don't know. Did you get that vibe
Art
from
Deco?
it?
Yeah, no, it was 100% steampunk mixed with like that Art Deco stuff we saw in BioShock Infinite.
People really liked it. This is the studio that did Wasteland 3, and people really liked Wasteland 3. It looked interesting and cool. But it's probably pretty far away. So.
Yeah, and it's funny because when they were revealing the release window or date, they put something cheeky on it that this
in
was
due
a good
time.
way. Yeah, in due time, which is like it's a really cheeky way of being like, we're not ready at all to talk about this.
Similar to albeit the last studio I remember doing it was CD Projekt Red. I was like, Cyberpunk will come out when it's ready. It's kind of what they said, and this is sort of the same thing. But it looked, for a vertical slice or an early, a first glimpse at something, it looked great. But it's at least 2 years out, if you ask me.
Yeah, the only thing that would probably give me a little confidence in like it actually coming along properly is we actually got significant gameplay, or significant for like a 2-minute trailer that was a lot of CG cutscenes. So there was a good amount of stuff here that got me excited, like the voiceover work that was being done, the music. This definitely seems like this would be my jam, and I look forward to it. And this is just kind of another one of those games where it's like gives that BioShock combat stuff that we've seen a ton in like this showcase and previous showcases from like Summer Game Fest. But that was it for the regular showcase. I got really excited because I thought Phil Spencer was wearing an X-Men shirt, and I thought that was like going to be an announcement coming, but he was wearing a Hexic shirt, which was a bummer to me. But we got to see they announced 2 things, right? 2 hardware things.
One for sure. I don't know what the second one was.
It was one. It was the
so
Xbox Series S is coming in black and a terabyte hard drive.
Yeah, for $350. So
so pretty good. Available September 1st.
Yeah, I mean $50, $50 more for 60% more storage.
If it's a full terabyte, yes.
Yeah.
But it probably won't be, unfortunately.
Sounds like it's people are wanting an all black version of the Series S. So like, I think that it kind of shows you that the Series S is doing well. We know that it's doing pretty well, but I feel like if it wasn't doing well, they wouldn't release a bigger version of it. A storage version of it, and I don't really think they need to iterate at all on the Series X.
What if they go a white Series X without a disk drive and lower the price?
And what? Leave it at 1 terabyte?
Yeah. Take the disk drive off. Knock $50
They'd have to lower.
off.
No, they'd have to lower it $100.
Probably, like, that would entice people. I just wonder if there's like wiggle room on both ends.
But I feel like that would hurt the Series S sales, because then you can get an X for $50 more for the same storage if they dropped it $100.
Yeah, if they dropped it $100, which is why I was thinking 50. But I think you're right. This shows you that the Series S is the one that is performing the most, which with this next game that we're going to talk about extensively, I wonder how the Series S is going to run it, to where I wonder if people will regret picking up a Series S in like 2 years' time as things start coming out. And then also if there's a Pro version or a Series whatever, are they going to just keep the Xbox Series X the same and then just make a Pro S and make things extra confusing?
S
but Dave,
plus.
we got 40 minutes of Starfield. Initial thoughts, Dave, of just everything we saw. Any highlights on here that you saw from this 40 minutes? There's too much to go into.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a very good show overall. Good cadence. I give it a strong B plus, A minus. I would have loved to seen some more, dates. I've been asking, for the last 2 weeks for something to drop in the month of June, and we didn't get that. So I am a little disappointed in that. Of like where's the next thing, their next hi-fi rush. I was hoping that we would have seen something like that, even if it wasn't first party. If it would have just been some kind of deal they signed with somebody for Nobody Saves the World, Guacamelee, Hi-Fi Rush style game or something. But overall, I think their first party talked. And that's what people wanted. There wasn't a lot that I feel like that was missing from there. I think Phil Spencer said 11 first party games were there. I think he said
something like that. Yeah.
So,
and overall there was like just 21 shown. Yeah. So like more than half or around half.
I think they learned their lesson about, saying, the next 6 months of games or everything we're showing comes out in the next year. I think they learned their lesson not to do that. But, really best of the 3 shows so far.
Yeah, I would say I think I graded PlayStation like a C plus and Summer Games Fest a B minus. I'm going to go B plus. For this one, and it would have been an A, but I'm kind of penalizing Xbox for their track record in terms of I just don't believe them yet in like their ability to deliver because they've screwed up so much. But other than that, like just from the pure announcement standpoint, like it's a solid B plus for me. Just there was like 3 or 4 games on here that I was super interested in, and my favorite part is there were games that I had no idea existed that shot to the top of my list. And that's what you're ultimately looking for on some of this stuff. And then we'll talk about it in, a minute or two. But like Starfield looked really good. Like from this, like we'll talk Starfield, because they showed 40 minutes of it. But if you exclude Starfield from that, I mean, there was like, again, like 3-4 games that I was like super interested, top of my list now of things that I'm looking forward to. And it's just now on Xbox to actually deliver.
Yep.
And get that stuff out. Which, again, they don't have a good track.
I mean, I honestly think Xbox 12 to 18 months ago would have taken all those games that they showed and shoved it into 25 minutes and gave us 40 minutes of Starfield and walked away. And versus now we got 60 minutes of this and 40 minutes of Starfield. But, we can get into it a little bit now. Like, I have no desire to play this game, Starfield. I don't know why Owen was fascinated by it. Why Owen was watching with me, like he was like super fascinated by it. All the stuff that you can do and how big the game is, but it doesn't mean that I won't check it out. And and again, if you go all the way back to years and years ago, like I was on the fence about Destiny, haha. So like this game could be great, but Fallout games had never grabbed my attention before. This game looks massive, and all the stuff they're showing, like if this game launches smooth, Even if it doesn't launch smooth, within the first week of it coming out, they've got all the bugs and ironed out. There are little like login issues that classic Bethesda games have. This game will go toe to toe with Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, this is a very ambitious looking game that when Phil Spencer, threw Redfall under the bus a couple weeks ago, they asked like, was Xbox hands on? And they're like, no, we were hands off with that. But Starfield was early in production that we were super hands on in. And I kind of believe them because Dave, you remember how bad the shooting looked in that teaser we got last year?
Yeah.
And how choppy it looked last year and the year before that? The shooting looks significantly better in this footage.
Everything
and also
looks
steadier.
better.
Yeah, everything.
The UI looks better. The ship mechanics look better. The planet, destinations look better. Like everything looks better. The biggest question that I saw from this was everybody raving about it, but Phil Spencer was adamant in that kind of funny interview that he was going to talk, that we were going to know about frames per second. And I know they have an extended showcase this week again. I think you said it's like on the 13th or something like that.
Yeah.
But people just want to know frames. Like, is it going to be 60? Like,
and it's not. I don't think it. I think they've already confirmed it's not going to be 60
today.
No, not today, but previously.
Okay, because Phil Spencer said we would find out at their summer showcase if it was.
Yeah. I think during the thing they'll probably tell us there might be a performance mode that maybe can get us to 40, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a steady 30.
Yeah, so that would be the only negative here, against it. So
yeah, the footage here I think was 30, but it's always hard for me to tell right away off like a YouTube stream. But this game, the only thing that worries me about Starfield after watching this, because it looks significantly better today than it did any other time, is it too ambitious? Is there too many plates spinning on this to tell like a classic Bethesda story? Because everything they showed just is like...
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Starfield runs at 30 frames per second on both Series X and S. Todd Howard confirmed today.
Okay, yeah.
So,
regardless of that, like it was at least a steady 30 frames as opposed to what they showed last year where it was chugging. Though I'm sure someone will break down the trailer and find when frames drop. But everything about it just seems like it's like different features from different games just on steroids. In terms of what they're showing.
He's saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it'll run in 4K resolution on the Series X at 30 frames per second, 1440p on Series S at 30 frames per second, but a locked 30 frames per second on consoles to ensure consistency of performance.
Which is something Bethesda's really never been able to do. Which is the part where Xbox needs to step up and make sure this shit can work. Because just some of the stuff that they're doing where they're letting people create their own ships and they showed some of those ships in the game. That's a good way to break a game, is by having people just make whatever the hell they want and then trying to fly it. Like there's so many different ways that this game can break, and if it can deliver a consistent experience like this could be a special game. This could be a lot of people's like forever game. I'm still going to be hesitant because it's Bethesda and like there's just a lot of Bethesda jank, and I don't think Xbox will be able to ever fully prevent that jank from existing. But I went from like, no, I'm not touching Starfield at all to like, oh no, I'm probably going to play Starfield. Am I going to love it? I don't know. Like I liked Fallout 4 when it came out, but I couldn't tell you shit about Fallout 4 today. Like any experiences I had during that game. So this is on my list now of things that I do want to play, and this could be either a very special game or it could be a disaster because it's promising a ton of stuff to people. But at least the RPG stuff looked great too. Dave, I don't know if you like the stuff where they're talking about like different traits you can have or different perks you can have, and how it'll change the story in different ways that you might not expect. There was just a ton of stuff that they showed here that if you're on a fence on this game, you have to watch this 40-minute thing. Buckle in. It might be a little too overwhelming, Dave. I don't know about you.
It's a lot. I kind of saw myself like wandering while I was watching it. I was really trying to focus on what they were showing.
Yeah.
Like and this is Xbox's gem right now. Like now the question is, old Bethesda would have released this game last year. Like, I mean, Bethesda before Microsoft acquisition would have released this game last year. They would have sold I don't know, 8 to 10 million copies. This game has potential to do you want to see, like, this is where you're gonna, like, if they get it right, like, this is where Xbox is gonna pump their chest out on November 1st and be like, we sold this many units, we had this many Game Pass subscribers, we have this many players playing on PC, this many planets discovered. Like, this is where you're gonna start seeing them really, really talk about this. Like, if this game hits the marks, this is going to substantially increase. You know what? I'm gonna say it. It's gonna substantially increase Game Pass subscription, and it will chart on MPD. Both.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's gonna do both. It's gonna do both. Unless a Call of Duty decides to come out that week and takes the #1 spot, like, I think this game will probably get the #1 spot for NPDs, because
this will be the #1 NPD for September.
Yeah, yeah,
unless Call of Duty comes.
Oh no, Spider-Man's October now.
This will be #1 for September, and September is a relatively loaded month, but not with any juggernaut like this. Like, their September 6th date is a really, really good date now, and like, this is gonna do some things. So,
and this game has so much marketability, like, just from like their aesthetic that they have. Like, they announced some hardware, like the collector's edition with the watch. They announced the controller, the headset. All of that stuff just screams like this is such an easily marketable thing that we can throw out there, and we're going to probably get sick of seeing Starfield stuff from Xbox from now until September, because they're going to advertise the shit out of this thing. Get ready for week 1 of the NFL to be plastered with Starfield stuff. This is going to be like, this is make or break for Xbox. Like, if Starfield does not do well, Microsoft might look at Phil Spencer of like, we spent $7 billion on this, because this is the thing that is going to be huge. This is also the reason why Bethesda probably was looking to be acquired, because if this game did not hit, it could probably have devastated Bethesda if they were by themselves.
And hopefully Microsoft's money helps deal with that, day one launches, that they, like the day one patches, and minimizes that. Hopefully the delay, there's still going to be a massive day one patch, but hopefully this comes out 3 days before launch. Well, actually more than that, because I saw something about like 5-day early access pre-order or something like that. So there's all that fun stuff. Also, like, they're confident in this, that I think they're advertising pre-orders and they're advertising collector's editions, to your point, and branded headphones and branded controller. Like, yes, it's a huge franchise, but typically Xbox's motto the last 2-3 years have been Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, and they're showing this as a standalone game. Like, and it's gonna do both. Like, if it hits what it's supposed to hit, it's gonna do both. So.
I it's funny how I went from like, I'm not excited for this game, to being like, you know what, I'm kind of interested in. I almost was looking at like, man, if that pre-order watch, or that collector's edition watch, if it's cheap enough, I might consider it. It's $300, so I'm not going to do it. But they got me sold on like, I kind of want that controller. Everything they were showing looked interesting. Is it going to be a game that I'm actually going to be able to finish based on what they showed? Probably not. But I want to credit the person that said it. And I think what's most refreshing about this, I think it was Gene Park. The thing that they're doing with like the personality with the game, it definitely is like inspirational future stuff, as opposed to what we're used to. Like Outer Worlds was very like snarky, like ironic space exploration, or we usually get like dystopian future stuff, and this one definitely felt very much like it is a inspirational, like that early NASA stuff that we that was in history books, that it makes you more excited about space, as opposed to what we're used to, where it's usually like, hey, here's a space game, everything's gone to shit, and it's like / horror game, or it's like, hey, guess what, capitalism's the worst. And they dove super deep into the character creation screen and picking your traits and picking your religion, to where, like they said, they interacted with somebody and they were able to pass because they were similar religion. I'm be more curious about like what would happen if you weren't the same religion, but that also like instantaneously gives me like stress and anxiety of like when I'm building my character, like, am I picking the right thing?
So
I like they said that you can undo some of those things, though they showed like the worst way to undo one of the traits that you get.
Yeah. So, but it was really nice to see like the developers on the game talking about that stuff, and they, you know, like obviously I know that that's all probably like shot 3 or 4 times, but the what's the name of the studio? Like, why is it Bethesda?
Softworks.
Is that what it is? Is Bethesda Softworks?
Bethesda Softworks, yeah.
They looked genuinely pumped. Like Todd Howard wasn't there until the end, but like all of their, you know, obviously they put the most charismatic people on camera, but these guys look pumped about this game. People look pumped about this game. So.
Yeah, they've been head down working on this for God knows how long, since 2018 technically is when we got the first teaser.
Yeah.
So yeah, they all seemed excited, and it was kind of infectious. Like their enthusiasm for not only like, you know, the regular cool stuff, but also the stupid shit that you can do in a game, which is the thing that I think Bethesda fans want to see. Of just like, can you just store a bunch of sandwiches?
Yeah, yes. But I think it's super interesting. So somebody like you that enjoyed Fallout franchises and has enjoyed the Fallout games would have, you know, let's remove Game Pass from this equation, okay? Somebody like you that enjoyed the Fallout stuff, you would probably buy this. You would have a high probability of buying this because of the pedigree, correct?
Yes, though I'm also a burnt out Fallout person.
Okay.
But I would say like there was a...
You would spend more time deciding if you were or weren't going to buy it.
Yes, yeah, it wouldn't have. It would have probably been a decision made the day off.
Versus me, who's like, nope, like that's too much. Now, let's bring Game Pass back into the equation. They got you, because now you're 100% going to download and play it because it comes with your Game Pass subscription, and it didn't affect you enough. And then they'll get me for a couple of hours, like, and they would have never have gotten me at all, ever.
And since this game is literally throwing a kitchen sink at you in terms of features, there might be one aspect of this game that could hook you, whether it's space exploration, building a crew, or just like the weapon loadout stuff, or the story stuff. You know, like there could be something in there that can get you. And they're showing and advertising a game that's very expansive and deep in each one of those.
I think our conversations will be super interesting, because I could be like, you know what, I did head down and I'm doing quest after quest after quest. I'm doing all the yellow dots. I'm connecting all the yellow dots. And you're like, it took me 3.5 hours to make my character, and I'm still working on the left side of my ship.
Yeah. Like, so. Especially when they showed of just like, oh, you can add like the medical bay to your ship, and it's going to change the outside, but also the inside's going to change. It was just like, damn it, I'm going to build Serenity. Like, I'm going to wait for someone to make Serenity, and then I'm going to copy them and redo Firefly. Like, there's a lot of potential here.
I think that Microsoft and Xbox and Bethesda put their best foot forward, and they said, okay, you guys want to see stuff? Like, here it is. You don't want to, and we're not going to date it, and, you know, and it's their stuff. Like, it was an Xbox showcase. It wasn't a gaming showcase. It was an Xbox showcase. Mm-hmm. And I'm totally fine with that. Versus, unfortunately, like PlayStation Showcase was a gaming showcase of very few PlayStation things that are coming to PlayStation, but not being made by PlayStation.
They didn't even have Twisted Metal at their showcase. But yeah, no, Xbox did a really good job. It's going to come down to, can they deliver though? Yep. Can they actually deliver? And that's the biggest question behind Xbox.
And I'm also concerned Starfield's not enough. Starfield and Forza is not enough for this holiday. There needs to be one more thing.
I don't
think there will be, but I want there to be, for me, as a player.
But I think as a brand right now, I think Starfield could be enough. Mm-hmm. If Starfield falters, has a bad launch, then they're gonna wish they had something else. But if Starfield actually hits, I think they might be fine until the spring. Okay. Especially you have the Xbox isn't selling that well, so you're going to need a lot of people to buy systems this holiday just for Starfield. So that could be enough to work for them. Yeah. And we'll see what happens. But Dave, that was the Xbox showcase.
Yeah, like I said, the best of the 3 that we've seen so far. Everything else that you and I are probably like, there's a handful of stuff happening on the 12th and 13th. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, overall, I mean, you know, a handful of stuff that I would definitely be interested in and want to check out and play. and some stuff that I just don't really care about. But that's kind of like in some in between stuff, which is exactly what you want. 33 Immortals, Payday, the Star Wars Outlaws. I'm so confused by Ubisoft at this point in time.
I think Ubisoft. The good thing about Ubisoft is hopefully they're like, yo, you already know everything we announced. Here's gameplay.
Yeah.
Here's a dev. Here's a controller.
Mm-hmm.
We're showing it.
So yeah, I mean, very, very good, very cool. Tentative plan. This will be out probably like if you're listening, like today's June 11th, it'll probably be out the night of June 11th or the morning of June 12th. And I think Michael and myself will probably try to hit Wednesday night or Thursday night again, depending on. I don't have a showcase schedule in front of me. I know we've got Ubisoft, Capcom. There's something else.
I'll pull that up right now.
Yeah. And then depending, I'm sure Microsoft's going to talk again
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah. So we might hold off a little bit just to see some of that stuff, but I could definitely see something Wednesday night or Thursday night. Devolver Digital seemed to be very basic this year, right? Did you watch it?
Yeah, it was just we kind of briefly talked about it on the last one. It was like 4 game announcements.
Yep.
So we have Ubisoft Forward June 12th. We have the Capcom Showcase June 12th. I think the Atlas is having a showcase that's not on this calendar. And then, of course, there's a PC game show that happened today as well that I just haven't had a chance to watch.
Okay.
So there was a few things. And then there was also 2 showcases yesterday, Dave. I don't know if you saw. No, 3 showcases yesterday.
Who?
It was the Wholesome Game, the Future Games, and then OTK Games Special. So there was like a bunch of indie showcases yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, as always, please let us know. Feedback is appreciated. Send us your comments on what you thought of the showcase. Maybe tell us what of the 3 we've seen so far. What like let's rank them. Or maybe rank them or tell us what you thought the best one was. Post it in Discord. Tag us on Twitter at Digital Days Pod. Post it in the Facebook group. Those are all linked in the show notes. And other than that, we'll talk to you guys later in the week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.